So Amphibia had their big mid-season finale Christmas special this past weekend, where they call it Froggy Little Christmas or something like that. And I feel bad, because I don't have much to say about this episode. Not to say that it wasn't good, not to say that I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. The experience of watching it was a lot of fun. Right down to how much of Andreas we saw. We saw a lot of Andreas in this. The whole plot with Andreas and Darcy wasn't really progressed at all, really. But we did see a lot of him, and as much as I just detest the guy, he's still a really funny character. And his scenes in this episode were really funny. And there's a lot of good to say about this episode. It has a really warm feeling to it. Like, these characters feel like a family. Like, they've always felt like a family, but they feel like a family here. And I'm including Anne's parents in this at this point, too. They feel like a family here more than they have in any other previous episode of the show. I also really liked the running gag that the planters don't know what Christmas is, and Christmas is a very complicated holiday. It has a long history, and let's not kid ourselves, it was kind of appropriated from its original purpose by another group, semi-recently in terms of world history, right? And that complicates things even more. There's the religious aspect, there's the cultural aspect, there's the historical aspect. And so giving someone a straight answer as to what Christmas is difficult just inherently, but then Christmas tends to mean different things to different individual people. Some people really only care about the gifts. Some people really only care about the food or the atmosphere or the music. Some people care most about spending time with family in this scenario that is emotional and meaningful to them. Or even just getting to spend time with their family at all, since it's only on big occasions like Christmas that they can make the time to do so, or their family can make the time to do so with them. And so there's this running gag throughout the entire episode of the planters trying to figure out what Christmas is, and no one can give them a straight answer. And the episode itself is framed like a quest. The plot of the episode being that Anne's mom finally gets a float in the town Christmas parade for the restaurant. It's something she's wanted forever, because while the show has celebrated Thai culture before, now the show is using this episode to celebrate how an immigrant family can assimilate into and come to really appreciate the culture of the place that they've made their home. The Boon Choys love Christmas. Anne's parents in particular love Christmas. And obviously the restaurant is important to the family. So getting a float for the restaurant in this parade for this thing that they love, making the restaurant a greater part of their larger community in doing so, is very important to her. But, and we just learned this lesson in Hollywood Hot Pop, of course, but because right now we're trying to keep a low profile because of the alien frog people we got living in her house, she can't do that. She says no, right? Which is the responsible thing to do, and it's heartbreaking, like genuinely. So Anne decides she's not gonna let that happen, and so she goes around questing around for all of the things that she needs to put together a float for her mom for the parade so that they can do the parade thing. And it takes her to the what were they called? The obviously dating robot girls. And then to, what's her name? Dr. Jan, I think. The museum lady. Characters who have become kind of part of the quote-unquote extended family of these characters. Extended found family of these characters who are helping them with their current greater quest. It was just really neat to see the main characters check in with these recurring characters and see how they spend the holidays and spend a little time with them during the holidays. And of course, and I don't want to spoil any specifics, right? Of course, the planters continue to ask what Christmas is about, and these different characters give them different answers, with Dr. Jan's being the funniest, I think. And throughout all of this, Sprig gets that Christmas is about gifts, one way or the other. So now he's trying to make a gift for Anne, something that she would really appreciate, that really speaks to how important she is to him. And so he's got that hanging over his head. But in the end, things go mostly well. He does put together a gift, they do get the float in the parade, and they have sort of a strategy to keep the planters from being too obvious while the parade's going on, so as not to attract the attention of the government. Unfortunately, Andreas has been doing stuff in the background. Some of his science guys, who are very kind and very loyal to him, present him with the gift of a prototype drone that he then promptly starts attacking them with so that he can learn the controls. And it was very funny. It was treated like he was treated like he was a gamer bro, learning to play a new game, learning to play like a VR game. And the gag in and of itself was very funny. The imagery was very funny. And getting to see him get better at it, but still like rage quitting and blaming his few failures on the control scheme was funny. Because on one hand, it was absolutely ridiculous. He was clearly screwing up. But on the other hand, like I'm playing Skyward Sword HD for the channel right now. And the control scheme in that's just kind of bad. Like, I'd be better at the game if the control scheme didn't suck so much. So I get his pain. At the same time, I get where he's coming from, if any of it is genuine. It was more of that distinct Andreas style of humor like we got back when he was trying to teach Cloakbot which book to get him. It was funny and in character, but doesn't detract from how scummy a guy he is. Like, it doesn't make me like him any better. It just makes him enjoyable to watch. And he does happen upon them, and they do have a big action sequence. And I really liked, one thing that really stood out to me is as the action sequence was starting, we see he heard about Christmas from Marcy. So he understands Christmas stuff. He understands who Santa Claus is. So he takes over a giant Santa Claus that's part of the parade. The drone injects nanites into it, which then assemble themselves into a robotic skeletal structure for the giant Santa Claus, and then further build weapons onto that skeletal structure that they can incorporate into the giant Santa Claus and turn it into a functional killer robot. And like, first of all, that was cool. That was a nice touch to make this a more Christmassy attempt on the lives of all of our favorite main characters. But also, like, that's a lot of thought. They put a lot of thought into how this thing was robotified. And I appreciated that a lot. As a lore guy, I appreciate that a lot. And it was a pretty fun action sequence, and while it does definitely confirm that Anne's mom was in the right not to want to draw attention to themselves, this isn't a thing that she could have foreseen. This isn't a thing that any of them could have foreseen. So I think it's okay. It's just, we have more escalation of this now. A giant robot Santa has rampaged through the city now. More people are definitely going to start taking notice of this stuff at this point. There's really no getting around it anymore. But really, the true joy of this episode is just the ride. It's a fun, wholesome episode that has some really cool action-y sequences and some good humor. And we do hear a line from Darcy at the end. We get a hint as to her dynamic with Andreas. I'm using her. I don't know if the core has a gender identity or not, but I'm using her because it's Marcy, right? We get to see a little bit of her dynamic with Andreas. And it makes me feel bad for the guy a little, but he's still scum, and I still don't really care. But either way, that was nice. That was nice to see, to get that little tease of things to come. And the scene where Sprigg finally gives Anne the present is just wonderful. Like, genuinely one of the most moving scenes in this already pretty emotionally charged show. And there is an image that we get at the conclusion of the episode, like a still that we get at the conclusion of the episode, where we do see that Anne does give her mom that butterfly that she got in Amphibia, which was cool. That was a cool callback. And we didn't really need to see that scene happen. We just needed to know that it did happen, because the butterfly was always about Anne, right? Not her mom. But the confirmation that her mom did get it was neat. But more than anything, I think the most interesting thing about this episode is that she wrote them anonymously. But Anne she's finally reached the point where she feels like she can bring herself to get in touch with Sasha and Marcy's parents. So she has written them anonymous letters explaining things just enough that they'll understand the context when she says that their kids are alive, which she does not know in Marcy's case. She's got to just be hoping, right? But it really speaks to her state of mind. Obviously, this has been a thing that's been weighing on her, It's just that she wasn't sure how to go about it, or she wasn't able to bring herself to go about it yet, or both, just because of her emotional state. But now we know that she is in that headspace to be able to do this. But we know that she is still hoping for the best. She hasn't, like, reached this point because she's crashed and lost all hope and realizes there's really no point in waiting any longer. She still believes that there's a chance that everything's going to work out okay. It shows how optimistic a person she still is, and proves that she really is dealing with the emotional aftermath of what happened. She's just doing it kind of in the background, helped along by all of the progress and all of the lessons that she's learning here on Earth since she arrived. There's also a little hint here as to Sasha's living situation, since her parents get 2 letters sent to different addresses, confirming, I think, that like it's possible that they're not, but I think this was here to confirm that her parents are separated, which I don't know if that's going to inform the character at all, or if, like, I mean, there's probably things in the character that are informed by that I could go back and, really dig into, but, like, it's a nice detail either way. Good world building detail, just like surface level. It serves that purpose. As for whether it's going to play into things later, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm also curious, she, like, wrote the letters out. She could have, like, typed them out or something, but she wrote them out. Is there any chance that any of these people are going to recognize her handwriting? Because it doesn't really matter if you're trying to be anonymous, if the thing you did is inherently revealing your identity, right? Just a thought. I don't know. It's a good episode. I liked it. I don't really have anything to say about the themes of it. Just watch it. Just watch the episode. It's a nice, fun, feel-goody kind of episode. Helped along probably, totally forgot to mention this, helped along probably by the fact that Rebekah Sugar is just walking around in the background, singing a fun Rebekah Sugar song. Like, she's just there. It was great. I guess my point is, this one, while it does progress the story of the show, doesn't do so massively. It doesn't do so as massively as you expect for this being a special episode and a mid-season finale, but it's still just a really enjoyable time. And that's all I really have to say about it. I'm not going to, like, go into any more detail about the comedy because I don't want to ruin the comedy. Just watch the episode if you haven't yet. Or watch this show if you haven't yet. This is a really freaking good show. And this is a great time to catch up on it since it's the mid-season finale. All of that said, though, guys, if you have seen the Amphibia episode, Froggy Little Christmas, what did you think of it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you might as well like the video, share it with anyone else you think would enjoy my content, subscribe if you haven't. You can also check out links to my various social medias, as well as the many ways you can help out the channel. Those will be in the video description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.